Welcome back to Sport Lab, where we dissect football's biggest moments and deepest disappointments. Today, we're talking about Arsenal, a team with their eyes on Paris, but who just slipped up big time at home.
We will start with drop points for Arsenal once again. Yesterday, losing 2-1 at home to Bournemouth. A big night in Paris around the corner next week. But, Jamie O'Hara, if you want to be a really elite club, whilst you can prioritise the Premier League, can you afford to let things drift in the league as much as Arsenal have done?
I think, look, they wanted to win the title. That was their aim this season, and go far in the Champions League. And it hasn't worked out for them in the league title. Liverpool have been too strong and they haven't been consistent enough. But, look, they've got a massive game against PSG. The mentality really is all about Champions League now. They want to win that game. You know, I thought they'd done all right in the first leg. Just, you know, PSG were a very, very good side. Look, it's not great preparation losing to Bournemouth. I thought Bournemouth played really well. But I think the mentality, you know, you're going to take your foot off the gas. Don't care what anyone says. You know, the title's over. That was their aim. They've got Champions League football. They're going to be there. You know, if Man City, you know, catch them and finish second, who really cares? For them, it was about winning, and they haven't won the title. So I think as a player, you do switch off a little bit. You do kind of tend to go and take the foot off the gas. It's all about the big one against PSG. That's what they care about. This game really was just in the way.
It has been a bit of a theme of their season, hasn't it, Clinton? Getting leads in games and dropping points from winning positions. And that was a theme that continued yesterday against Bournemouth.
Yeah, but they're not clinical enough. And I've been saying it all along. And I know we always have this debate, but I don't know how Arsenal win games without a centre-forward. I know Kai Havertz, but he's not a natural number 9 who wants to run in behind. They dominate possession. They got good players in Saka, Odegaard, even though Odegaard hasn't been up to his best against PSG. I thought he was non-existent. And then you look at Martinelli, and I look at him and I think, you've got to do more. Martinelli on that left-hand side, you've got great pace, but can you get that final end product of assisting or getting goals? And at the moment, you know, if Arsenal go out and finish like, say, 3rd or 4th in the Premier League and get knocked out PSG, that's not a successful season. Absolutely no chance. This was Arsenal's year to challenge Liverpool. Man City and all the other big teams will come again next season. So it's going to be even harder for Arsenal. They just don't have enough, and they're not clinical enough, Rob. That's what I'd say about Arsenal. Play beautiful football, not clinical enough in the final third.
It's going to be a kick in the teeth for Arsenal when they finish 3rd and Tottenham win the Europa League.
I knew that was coming.
And we've had a better season.
Who had 12.08 on the sweepstake of Jamie O'Hara making a dig across North London.
Top season now.
Let's just illustrate, by the way, the points that Arsenal have dropped from winning positions this season. To come back to you, Clinton, on what you said about it not being a successful season, if they finish below second, if they don't win the Champions League, is it too simplistic to say, given that it's been second the last 2 seasons, that they've maybe gone backwards a little bit?
Yeah, this season I'd say they've gone backwards. Listen, the last 2 seasons they've been brilliant. They're just against a juggernaut in Man City. But this season, I think they've gone backwards. I think it was theirs for the taking at the beginning because we didn't know how Liverpool were going to be. As I say, credit to Liverpool. Arne Slot went in there and they've been first class. But I think Arsenal will be really disappointed. Then there was talk in January, can you go and get that centre forward? Go and back Mikel Arteta, bring that centre forward that you're in. Maybe he didn't want the centre forward, or the centre forward they wanted wasn't available. But I always say that. I don't know. I only see Man City do it with a false number 9. Teams can't win stuff without having a natural number 9. I know there's teams that people be shouting out a team. They tell you, yeah, there's loads in Europe, but being an ex-striker, you need a number 9 in your squad.
Is it as simple as saying that that's all they need to do over the course of next summer?
No, I think they need a bit more. I think they need some backup players. You know, when you look at the bench, I mean, Nweri, who's I think's done fantastic. He's a young kid, though. I think they need some players to come in and bolster. You know, obviously, Partey was out the other night and had a massive problem. Thinking, who do we play there? Who steps in? So I think, look, the number 9, I agree with Clinton, that has to be addressed. They've got to sign someone who guarantees them 20 goals a season. How many teams win the title that don't have that player? I mean, there's hardly any. So for me, I think that's something they've got to do. And then, yeah, look, they've got to, you know, I think the first 11's great.
Yes.
But it's the backup players as well. They need a striker and they need some better backup players to come in who can make a difference off the bench, like Jamie Vardy.
We'll get to Jamie Vardy later and who he might be of use to next season. Do you have any sympathy, Clinton, in what he was saying, Mikel Arteta, that he almost was surprised himself when he looked at those who were missing in midweek against Paris Saint-Germain, and there was no Gabriel Jesus, no Gabriel, no Kai Havertz, other players on that list as well, that injuries have hampered him too.
Yeah, injuries have hampered him, but so have injuries hampered Tottenham as well, across the road as well. And obviously, Andrew's had to get on with it. You're going to get that. Every club. When Bournemouth have done fantastic this season, they've had big injuries to loads of key players. So, yeah, you do feel... it is a bit of a kick in the teeth to lose so much key players. In particular, I think Gabriel, the partnership with him and Saliba has been outstanding. But Kiwior has not really gone in and made a lot of mistakes. He's gone in and done well against Real Madrid. I just think in the midweek, they played against a very good, organised PSG team that are much better than the PSG team that was 3-4 years ago when they had Messi, Mbappe and Neymar.
Yeah.
Because it's a team.
Proper
it's not
team.
Individuals. They work hard together. And that's why I make PSG the favourites that go on and win the Champions League.
Go on.
I was surprised at the starting 11, though, yesterday, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm really
strong.
surprised. He went really strong. And I get it, maybe you want to keep the lads ticking over. He still wants to perform in the Premier League. But, you got a massive game against PSG. I'm sure PSG, they must have, 10 changes?
They lost as well.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah,
but they won the league, they don't care.
Yeah.
But Arsenal have got nothing to play for in the Premier League. And I was surprised. And look, first half, they'd done all right. But it was so obvious what was going to happen in the second half. Bournemouth were going to come back into it. And I don't care what anyone says. Players like your Declan Rice and your Odegaards, they are not going to go full tilt. They're not going to, because they're thinking, I'm not getting injured when I'm playing that massive game.
So do you think, with that selection, because I think there were a few eyebrows raised about the team that he picked yesterday, that he's almost trying to make it important for his players and say, I'm not making many changes, the Premier League is still a big thing, we want to finish second, and almost trying to get them to buy into it being a significant match?
Yeah, maybe, but I think you've also... I think that's naive. I think you've got to be realistic. As a manager, I get it. The Premier League is the bread and butter. I understand that. You got one game, which is the biggest game of his life, biggest game of the season for Arsenal. I was really surprised that he played such a strong team. Look, they come out of it unscathed. There wasn't any injuries, but they lost the game. It's not great preparation. Set pieces they conceded, so they'd be frustrated. And I'm surprised he did it. But look, only he knows why he picked that side, and we'll see what happens. Look, they've got a really good chance against PSG. They're nowhere near out of it. It's a massive game. I just think you want your players to go into that as much as 100. No one's ever 100% anymore, but you want them to be as close to as 100% as possible. And that game would have took it out of them, and they would have got frustrated because they were getting beat.
I suppose you would say that you don't get to Kevin De Bruyne's level and be the type of winner he has been over such a long period of time if at this point he didn't think he could still do a good job for a Premier League team.
There's probably nearly every team in the Premier League that would take Kevin De Bruyne. In my eyes, I think he's still one of the best. He'll go down as one of the best midfielders that's ever played in the Premier League. And he's right there. The last 5 or 6 games when they've told him he's not getting a contract, his level's gone to another level. Me and Jay were speaking about it. Come Man City do a U-turn. It's been done many a times. You see players do U-turns. How can you not do a U-turn? Let me tell you, he's available, Kevin De Bruyne. There'll be loads of teams in the Premier League that will want Kevin De Bruyne. He's one of the best to ever grace the pitch at the Etihad and play for Man City. I think he deserves a statue outside that football club. I think he's fantastic. And you see that interview, it looked like it was pure frustration.
Yeah.
Like he wants to stay at the football club and the football club don't think they're moving on. And I understand you get to a certain age and Kevin De Bruyne has had injuries, but if Kevin De Bruyne is healthy, fit and healthy, you're going to find it very hard to replace him.
Yeah, I feel for him, actually, because he's been a great player, really has been a top player. And it looked, sometimes, me and Clinton have been there probably more than Kevin De Bruyne, that's for sure, that clubs don't want you anymore. And they make a decision, they go, you know what, we think we're going to move on. And he's probably sat there and thought, it's been a kick in the teeth, because he's probably never had that. He's never had that feeling. And every player gets that. In the end, eventually, you get that where, it's time to go. And it probably took him a bit by surprise. And he's gone, you know what, I'm not done yet. I'm not finished. And his performances have been fantastic. It's just, they probably look at it and think, is he going to stay fit for what we're paying him? He's on a lot of money. Is he going to stay fit? Because, listen, they probably know if he's 100% like he's been over the last 4 weeks, of course he's worthy of being at Manchester City. But they need someone who's going to do it for the whole season. And the last couple of seasons, he has picked up injuries which, have been frustrating for them. So, but I think they might do a U-turn.
Do you think?
As Clinton said, every team in the Premier League would take Kevin De Bruyne. Arsenal should, if he is genuinely going to go, Mikel Arteta knows him, should get straight on the phone and say, come and sign for Arsenal, we'll win the league with you. I'm going to sign a striker. I'm going to have you in midfield. We'll sort it out with you and Odegaard, and they've got Champions League football. I would be straight on the phone, give him whatever he wants, get him in at that team because he's a winner, he knows how to win, and he's still a top player. It makes a huge difference. So it might be a schoolboy error from Man City letting him go.
The point is, Jamie, and it probably leans into the reason that he's not been offered a new contract at Manchester City, is that you said you take him at Arsenal, give him what he wants. That's not realistic, is it, for someone who turns 34 next month? Who
You'll be getting him for nothing.
But the signing on, I'm sure he'd take a pretty hefty signing on fee.
Yeah, but you're getting him for nothing. Arsenal can pay wages. They over the years, Arsenal have paid big amount of wages. They're, a very rich football club. If you're getting a player of Kevin De Bruyne's stature for a couple of seasons, he's only 33. I know he turns 34, I think, in June or July. If he stays fit and he plays over 60% of the games that you bring him in for, and you manage him and you've got Odegaard and you've got, De Bruyne, manage their minutes. Don't tell me he can't go and win you a Premier League and be a massive player for your football club. I would pay him 300 grand a week to go and play for Arsenal. 100%. He's a winner. He's one of the best players ever to play in the Premier League. And he's still doing it. He's had 4 weeks, as he said, he's been one of their top performers. Don't tell me he's not still capable of playing at the top level. He is.
How much scope then do you think, Clinton, there is in Premier League clubs to sort of just throw their model out the window? Because particularly under Mikel Arteta, the team has been buying young players with their whole career ahead of them. Is it on the manager to say, even though he's 34 at the start of the new season, this guy could be the difference, could be the man to help us finally deliver that league title?
Well, I understand when managers say that to certain players, but I'm going to throw in another name who's been fantastic this season, Mohamed Salah. Salah's 33, 34. He just signed a 2-year deal. His numbers are unbelievable. Let me tell you, Kevin De Bruyne has got the same ability as Mohamed Salah. So the only thing with Salah is he stayed fit for the majority of the season. And that is why the question marks and the doubts will be about Kevin De Bruyne. It won't be the doubts of Robert as him as a footballer. Absolutely no chance. Because as Jamie just alluded to, he's one of the best to ever do it in the Premier League. And he's right. If someone like Arsenal signed him and they got a centre-forward wouldn't have to come to feet. Just go in behind, stay in the box. And you know what Kevin De Bruyne is? One of the best balls I've seen in the Premier League where he whips it around the defence. It's a no-brainer for me. If you can get Kevin De Bruyne fit and healthy, any club would sign him and you give him what you want for 2 years and he could be the difference of you winning the Premier League, but it's just staying fit. It
really annoys me that this new modern era of how we got to sign these young potential talents to, maybe we sell them for £80 million. I understand the model, I get it, but you can't beat experience. You can't beat world-class talent. All right, you've got to manage him. Well, manage him then. That's your job. That's the whole point of having a world-class player at your football club. And how many times do we see, we bring in this player and potentially... What about Pepe? Do you remember him at Arsenal? Signed him, potentially going to be the best right winger ever. Where's he gone now? There's so many players that you bring in with this potential model, which is a load of garbage. Like the teams that used to win... Man United used to sign the best player every season. You sign the best player in the Premier League every season, then win the league again. Well, the best players available for free.
I guess one of the prime examples actually would be that Robin van Persie, who went to Manchester United, didn't get too long out of them, but they got one season where he scored a load of goals and Man United won the league.
Arsenal want to win the league. And Kevin De Bruyne is leaving Manchester City, supposedly. He's leaving. Mikel Arteta knows him. He knows what he's about. Kevin De Bruyne knows Arteta. If I was them, I would be straight on the phone, begging him to come and sign for Arsenal.
I guess when you are a sporting director, and I take all of what both of you have just said, but sometimes with money and wages, you're playing the percentages, and the smallest word that you said there is maybe the most important, if you can keep him fit. Yeah. He started 17 games this season in the Premier League, 8 substitute appearances. The two guys you mentioned there, Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, have started every Premier League game.
Yeah, that's the difference, and that's when you're going to do it, you're going to weigh it up. And clubs nowadays they like to make money, as Jamie said. So I kind of get that. As your sporting director, you've got to do what's best for the football club. But if you want to win a Premier League, then you've got to do what's best for the football club, and you sign the best players and you give the best players what they want. If you think Kevin De Bruyne, and I think personally, and I can guarantee you everyone in the world will think Kevin De Bruyne goes to any club, he improves that football club. And he don't just improve the football club. If you're a youngster that's coming through, you look up to Kevin De Bruyne and you go and lean on him and ask him for advice. You probably the best person to probably go and ask is someone like a Phil Foden, who probably learned from De Bruyne and David Silva when they were there. It's still good to have experienced players in the building and a top experienced player like Kevin De Bruyne. No brainer. It'd be sad if he doesn't play in the Premier League because we miss out on him. We want to see the best players in the Premier League. No brainer for someone to go and sign Kevin De Bruyne. And you know what? He might not even want the 300 grand a week. He's made so much money in his career. Do you know what I mean? And he could probably go and get somewhere. You could give him 200 grand a week. I don't think he's struggling on 200 grand. Do you?
He'd probably get by, yeah. Is there any way? I mean, Arsenal is the one you suggested, but do you see any other club? Would it? Do you think in his mind it has to be a club that's playing Champions League football next season?
Yeah. I mean, what would be the point? Otherwise, you might as well go to the MLS. You know, you might as well go somewhere else and have, do what Messi's doing, But for me, it seems to me that he wants to stay in the Premier League. He still feels like he wants to be at the top. Mohamed Salah, all this talk about him going to Saudi, signs a 2-year deal at Liverpool. That's the mentality of these players. The big boys want to stay in the Premier League and produce week in, week out. And I think Kevin De Bruyne is the same. So I think, look, Arsenal's obviously the one that I would look at because they want to win the Premier League. But anyone would take him, Anyone should try and get hold of him. I'd love him at Tottenham. We can't afford him. But, if you're talking of teams that can afford him, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, it could go anywhere.
Just a final word on him, Clinton, that if City aren't to perform a U-turn, it might well even still have worked in their favour, that as we've sort of touched on, it's clearly wound him up enough to maybe get an extra gear in his performance, and it might be just enough his goals and his contribution to get City over the line and get them into the Champions League.
Well, they always say when players are coming to the end of the contract, they up their game to a different level. I'm not saying that's what Kevin De Bruyne is doing, but
what you used to do.
100%. I'm not going to lie, but I wasn't
starting from quite a low level, to be fair.
Starting at a lower level, not that higher level. But what I would say is, like, as I say, he's always maintain them kind of high levels. The only thing with Kevin De Bruyne is he has to stay fit. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest question mark. And probably that's the only reason why Man City have made that decision, because there's no other reason why you wouldn't give Kevin De Bruyne a new contract. I hope there is a U-turn, and I hope he is playing Premier League football, because we want to see the best players in the Premier League.
For us, myself and Craig are heading to Barcelona already. Craig is moaning, Naden, and you'll be pleased to hear this. He doesn't like the thought of doing hits at midnight. During our time in Catalonia, which made me think of the Copa del Rey final, which you finished at what time?
We were off air just before 2. Yeah. I think. But it's the final, so we just live by it.
Exactly.
But you said there. Now hold on a minute.
What's that?
Nobody knows this.
Right.
There may be hits at midnight.
Right.
However, the involvement is up for debate.
Have you been involved in them?
Well,
isn't that your whole point of being in Barcelona?
To be involved in a midnight hit in Spain, I physically have to get on a plane.
Oh, I see. So you're going to abandon the trip because you don't want to work at midnight.
How long we got before we go?
Oh, there we go. I think we leave on Wednesday. So there we are.
I've always been an advocate as doing some lovely as lives.
Oh, really?
As lives, because it cuts out any potential mistakes that may happen, or profanities that might just slip out. So you do an as live, it's tidy, it's clean, you package it and you send it away.
Good luck.
And then we can swan out something.
Good luck with that. Nathan, it's the first time I've noticed a ladder on your bookshelf.
A ladder?
Yeah.
Was that?
There's a ladder.
Next to myself?
Yeah, I know. I hadn't seen that before.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've not seen it either. I've seen that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
All your mountains of books. There we are. Books. I assume that your book is still available at all good bookshops, Nathan?
Yeah. I told you, literally, it's just currently number 2 in bestsellers behind the Bible. So
wow.
You decided you need to get one or not.
Goodness me, there we are. Don, when's your book coming out?
Take the Bible. I'll take the Bible.
Right.
No book for me. Too many stories in there. Too many stories in there that I can't tell. So I'm not going to even attempt it.
Don, you seem a bit moody today. Is it one of your tired days again? You're getting a bit of a bad mood when you're tired.
No, I'm all right. But I mean, you've not started the show very well, Dan. You're a bit lethargic, and I'm not sure you're getting the best out of Craig. You've given him the ump. You've questioned the ladder for Naden. You're calling me tired.
I thought I didn't. If you think he's got the hump, you want to see me in Spain a few days.
I can imagine already the answer to this question is going to be very brief. Don, I'll start with you. Does Liverpool owe the rest of the league to play their best squad and win as many matches for the rest of the season, since Champions League spots are still to be decided?
No. If you're Liverpool, do what you want.
Yeah. Any sort of obligation for Liverpool, Naden?
No, do whatever you want.
There we go. Craig, does
Remember
Arsenal...
there was a scenario years ago, I think it was Mick McCarthy, I might be wrong, Mick McCarthy was managing a team and it might have been the last game of the season or close, and it was relegation was involved. And they were playing, or one of their opponents was playing, or one of the teams that could be relegated along with this team. Very convoluted.
This story's going really well.
Was the other team that could be relegated were playing a team that was already champions.
Okay.
And they were they were going to make a lot of changes. He wasn't happy.
Right.
Just move on.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Well, that's my point. Is that
these hits, Dan, these hits are not going to go down well at midnight.
They're already in his mind. They're already playing mind games.
I've just been on the blow.
Craig, does Arsenal set piece coach only work on attacking set pieces?
Seems so. When do you ever see him bobbing out? Like
bobbing out,
coming out with his chest puffed out, going, "Look at me, cameras, look at me." When do you ever see him do that? When there's a defensive set piece that they have to organise themselves against, and they make a pig's ear of it, like they did today. You don't see him. He sat there going, "Please don't sack me. Please don't." You know what I mean? He's an annoying little.
You really don't like him.
A lot of people don't like him.
Well, that doesn't justify you not liking him.
No, I don't dislike him.
Right.
I don't know the gentleman. We don't have to be coming out there taking all the glory every time, as if this is something that nobody's ever done before, some rocket science. They do the same thing every week. Oh, guess what? They block the goalkeepers. Guess what? They all start away at the back, and then they run in, and then somebody blocks. It's all about the delivery. At the end of the day, they were doing it all day today with their set pieces, and the delivery was horrendous. So unless the delivery's very good from corners and free kicks, you can work in things all you want. It's just
the best one. The best one was when he told Declan Rice to cross it in the Real Madrid game.
Yeah.
And Declan Rice binned him and put it in the stanchion.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nadim, did you have a relationship with set piece coaches?
I don't have any.
He might have done. He's younger than you.
Well, from when I was playing, the set-piece coach was just the goalkeeping coach that probably have 10 minutes on a Friday before a game on a Saturday.
Right.
But interestingly, like when I do get a chance to go to some of these games and you look at things being done, a set-piece coach does come out for the defensive ones and he organises it. But because it's not sexy, there's not like a producer somewhere saying, right, get the cameraman on the set-piece coach because he's telling them to go in a line of 4. You know what I mean?
We're blaming the director.
That's the thing, unfortunately.
You know what's going to happen.
Arsenal.
You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen next. There's going to be a defensive set-piece coach.
Right. An attacking one. There we are.
And a throw-in coach with Liverpool for a bit. But...
Nadim, explain why top 6 teams don't use the long throw anymore. Are they embarrassed?
I don't think they're embarrassed. I think for me, firstly, you need to have someone that's actually got a long throw on them. And most people have never actually tried it. But then when you do see it, maybe one person has it. But then how many players do you have who are desperate to win a duel in the box? And as well as that, if it's only going to be your centre-backs or whatever, do you have enough players who can cover in behind that space? Chances are, for some, it's probably not. So as a consequence, they tend not to do it because it's more so relying on chaos as opposed to a true like set piece. But I mean, if you can throw it in there, cause havoc, great. But like I say, I didn't even know Semenyo had a long throw until today. But maybe that's more for me. But it's the way the football goes, isn't it?
3:30 a.m.
3:30 a.m.
That's the number. That's all you need to know.
Okay, all right.
3:30 a.m. What does that mean, Don? 3:30 a.m.
No idea.
Nadim?
No idea.
3:30 a.m.
Nope.
You should know this.
Go on then, let us in. That's what time Stevie called me last night because he FaceTimed me by accident.
It's when the bars close in Spain.
Oh, no, they don't, Craig.
What?
Bars don't shut in Spain. You're okay.
Not that I'll be going to any.
No, you're absolutely fine. Spain doesn't shut.
Not fine. I'm not be doing hits at midnight. I'm not going to be fine.
It started already. It's only Saturday.
Who's put him on this gig? Who's put him on this gig?
I know.
I'm going to do the game, Don. Nobody said about working in between travel and doing it. And by the way,
yes, Craig Burley.
What the hell? What the hell are we going to do? No, I'm not going to say anything because somebody will say work.
Right.
What are we going to do?
Can you feel my pain? Dan, can you feel my pain? I'm doing the Club World Cup in the summer.
Yes.
And I don't know my distances. I don't know my geography. So I've got to go from Orlando to Cincinnati to Atlanta, to Miami.
Right.
Where am I going? Am I like
What's
6-hour flights? Are they not too
you
bad?
Want sympathy, and you want sympathy for getting paid to go and watch football. What's
No.
happening here?
No. I'm just.
I don't want sympathy.
I'm just asking you.
What do
Are they
common sense?
Are they mental flights? Are they not too bad?
I don't know, Don.
No, Don, that's it. Don.
Well, you live there.
Don. Travelling in the US is pretty
Nader
easy.
will know.
Don, travelling in the US is
I'll
easy.
text
We have-
Nader, he'll know.
We have these things called airplanes.
Nadim's definitely blocked you. Oh, God. This is really taking a weird turn. Nadim, bye. Will you just...
I'm going to Cincinnati. That's easy.
Nadim, Bayern were just being polite today, yeah, and waiting to win the title at home with Harry Kane back. He was suspended for today.
Yeah, of course.
There you go.
Of course. You can't win it without Harry there, because that's been his career so far, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, obviously they wanted to win the game. They thought they'd won the game with such a late goal. But the fact is, to be able to win it in front of your home fans, if that's the way it falls, that's going to be a magnificent moment for them. And if you want to pretend that today was just nothing in particular, look at the way they celebrated on the bench when they thought it was going to be 3-2 and finish the game. So yeah, just another week, but I'm sure they're very excited for the games ahead.
We're talking logistics. There's only one man to go to, and that is, of course, Mr. Don Hutchinson. If Manchester United and Real Betis win their competition, will Anthony receive 2 medals, Don?
There's every chance he probably will, won't he?
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I don't know for sure, but yeah.
What do you mean?
But you don't know for sure. Yeah, I hope you've been...
But if he's played X amount of games for United in the Europa League, and then X amount of games for Real Betis in the Conference League, and they both win, so therefore, cumulatively, he might get 2 medals.
And maybe he's twice the player we think here.
There we are. I'm sure somebody will tell us.
Do you remember we went to Wales in 2017?
Yes, you got a strop on there.
For the Champions
So
League?
basically, listen to this, boys. So we had to do a hit at 12:30, and we got a message at 11 saying we need to meet in the lobby at 12:30. Craig didn't turn up, and then we saw him later. He goes, "Well, I'm not a fireman. I'm not on call."
No, that's not true.
He's got too much power.
No, Don, that's not true. The digital hit got changed time, and I didn't know about it, and so I went for a nap, right? As old people need a nap now and again. I went for a nap, and the producer said to me, it just happens to be the same producer, who's gone to Spain, so there could be problems. He said, "Where was you?" I went for a nap. I said, "I'm not on call. I haven't got a buzzer, and I go down a pole whenever they want a bleeding digital hit. I'm just laying the groundwork.
It's very niche content today.
I'm laying the groundwork."
Don, how happy are you for your mate Lampard to get Coventry City a playoff spot? If Coventry is not able to win in the playoffs, will Lampard stay or look for a job in the Premier League?
Well, first of all, buzzing for Cov because they're my former club, but the job that he has done, I mean, let's get it right, Dan. I think they
Every
were
club's your former
17th
club.
when he took over. Well, exactly. I mean, if I can find a way in the playoffs of Cov, who's left in it? Cov, Sunderland coming up, will have played for like 25% of the Premier League, which is pretty ace. But the job that he's done, you've got to hand it to him. Amazing. You have to say, from 17th into the playoffs.
Yes.
Incredible job.
This is a weird extra time today, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Look at the panel. For the panel, compared to your playing days, are today's players playing more games, or is the increased intensity of constant pressing leading to more injuries and fatigue? Early?
There's no doubt the game has changed in the
Pitches.
Pitches. There's no doubt that the game has changed in terms of how we used to go about it and how the modern... The pitch has never been bigger. I mean, it hasn't changed in size, but in terms of how wide the players make it.
Right.
You know, because the centre-halves pick up the ball in the 6-yard box, which they never used to do. The full-backs are pushed up almost as wingers if they're not inverting themselves, and the wingers are pushed up. So the game is much more stretched. That makes it more entertaining because there's more space to play, but it also means players are having to cover a lot of ground. It used to be a little bit more, shall I say, simplistic than that before. So it has evolved. I don't have the stats in terms of the amount of games, but I'm certainly not playing less games. Then you throw in this incredibly dull competition that Don's going to be covering for lots of money.
He's going to be
in
so
the summer.
sycophantic about it, really, because they're paying him.
Then we had this conversation earlier on.
What a competition.
I had this conversation briefly with our colleague Sid Lowe before the Barcelona game, and Sid's covering the Club World Cup for the newspaper that he works for, and he was getting all excited about it, and I'm not. But I'm not excited because of the clubs that are involved. What annoys me is when are these players going to get a rest? Mm-hmm. Is that not paramount to seeing better football next year? Because don't moan next year when Real Madrid and all these teams in the Club World Cup have got players falling over and people are moaning saying, oh, the football's not great, we're out of this competition. Well, you went in the summer and you played in some nonsensical plastic competition that's basically there to fill the coffers of everybody involved. My problem is, when are these players going to get the proper rest that's needed? Nobody seems to be understanding.
You kind of need someone to make a stand, maybe someone in the media who's been offered jobs commentating to say, no, I'm not going to do it. For the betterment of the game, I'm going to say, no, I'm not flying to Cincinnati. I won't take your money.
I'm turning the money down because this is a must-have competition.
Yeah.
I will report, Craig. I will report on the players' fitness just for you. I'll tell you how they're looking. I'll tell you if they're fatigued. Or in Rodri's case, it might be his pre-season.
Here you are.
So I will let you know.
It's another person that will block you, Don.
Well, I'm more worried about next season because I think that's when we'll get... Anyway, that's enough about this competition.
Right, final question, Craig.
Hey, is that an advantage to Liverpool, by the way? Oh, is that an advantage to Liverpool, that City are going to be playing in it?
There we go.
Ooh.
Oh, we're getting noises now.
Final question, Craig. Start, bench or drop these great strikers that you played with? Larson, McCoy, Zola.
Well, I wouldn't quite class Zola as a striker, but... Oh, my God. Oh. So I'm going to have to...
Great question.
I'm going to have to drop Coisty.
Coisty's gone?
Yeah, even though, I'm going to have to drop McCoist. Although he was a hell of a goal scorer. I'm going to have to bench Zola because he's not really a striker, and I'm going to start Henrik because he was just a phenomenal goal scorer. That's where I am, yeah.
There we are, beautiful.
And I couldn't pick McCoist and not pick my old Celtic teammate. Okay. Not happening.
Okay, oh, beautiful. That's
then,
all right.
Then they would hate me.
Good. Well, they probably do already. That's it then. Don, what's your plans for Sunday? Anything exciting?
Commentating on Brighton-Newcastle.
Oh, lovely. Unbiased, I hope.
Don, if you get a VPN back there in the UK, you can tune in for our midnight hits from Spain.
Yeah, yes, that's true. That'd be nice. Naden, what you on to tomorrow? You think Don knows what a VPN is, by the way?
I'm just going to...
No.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm just going to watch some more football.
Yes.
Enjoy myself.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Do you want to ask Naden anything now about your flights?
No, I'll text him in a couple of hours' time. I'll bombard him.
OK, lovely. That is it. Thank you very much.
Just days before their biggest European match in years, Arsenal's momentum has crumbled. A 2-1 home defeat to Bournemouth at the Emirates has left fans stunned, not just by the result, but by the timing. Declan Rice opened the scoring on his 100th Arsenal appearance, calmly rounding Kepa and giving the Gunners a first-half lead. It should have been the platform to push forward, dominate, and build confidence before facing PSG on Wednesday. Instead, Arsenal capitulated. Andoni Iraola's Bournemouth came into this one with just one win in their last 9. Not exactly the form to take down a Champions League contender. But credit where it's due. Tactical changes made all the difference. The game turned with the introduction of Antoine Semenyo, whose long throw caused chaos in the 67th minute. Dean Hewson rose highest and nodded it in for the equaliser. Then came the winner. Evanilson pounced on a scrappy corner in the 75th minute, beating Martin Odegaard to the ball to complete a historic first-ever win for Bournemouth at the Emirates. That's not just 3 points, that's a serious statement in their hunt for European football next season. Here's the real concern for Arsenal. Both goals came from set pieces. This is a side known for strength at both ends of the pitch on dead ball plays. But today, They looked flat, passive, disconnected, and after conceding twice from set pieces for the first time since December 2023, questions are being asked, especially with PSG looming in the Champions League semi-final second leg. Arteta played his full-strength squad. No excuses. But once Bournemouth struck, Arsenal didn't register a single shot on